I, 25 female, am not that close to my dad anymore. I was until I was about 13, but that changed. He either only realised it now or started to care now that I'm living a more independent life and he's not as involved as he wants to be. I was 8 when I lost my mom and we were as close as ever, but I needed him more. Then, when I was 11, he remarried and he became a stepdad to a girl who was 10 at the time. Now this is where complete honesty comes in. I was jealous as heck that my dad was trying to bond with her and that he called her his daughter and us his girls right away. It made me feel less special. It made me feel like I didn't matter as much, because how could someone so new to him be equal to me after hardly any time? Every time he spent time with her, I felt sick. He still spent time with me, but after about 6 or 7 months of marriage, he started to spend more time with his stepdaughter. I hated it. I was both devastated and furious that she was getting my dad. I was 13 and my dad said he preferred hanging out with her over me because they had similar interests. He said he couldn't spend enough time with his stepdaughter and he was hoping I would hit the teen phase of not wanting my parents around me that much. He didn't tell me, but I heard him say it. His best friend was one of the people he did say it to, and he was like, "Dude, don't say that out loud." And my dad said most parents probably feel that way. He said it wasn't like he would ever tell me that to my face. Then he admitted he also resented me for not wanting his wife the way her daughter wanted him. He wanted us to be the perfect little family, and we looked like a step family where the step is always used, because I didn't really want his wife for stuff. I gave him his wish, and over the years he increased the time he spent with his stepdaughter. They could do stuff together up to 4 times a week. That was until she was 16 and wanted space. He was devastated by that, and that crushed me. So I decided that was all I needed to know and didn't try to get closer to him. He approached me with why after I moved in with my boyfriend and his dad helped us move stuff. My dad said he expected to be called, and then he asked me why I'd pulled away from him. So I told him everything from the jealousy to what I heard him say, and I told him I decided that I wouldn't keep close like I had when he felt that way. Dad was offended that I'd ever been jealous. He told me it was disgusting to want to deny his stepdaughter the chance at a dad. He also told me he should be allowed to have interests in common with someone other than me. I told him he was, but I was also a kid who lost my mom and clung to my sole living parent. He then accused me of manipulating him by saying all that, and I told him that he shouldn't have asked a question if he wasn't prepared for an honest answer. He told me I could screw right off with that attitude and told me to grow up. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but I think you should go ahead and do what he told you to do. If anyone, I don't care what their title is, told me to screw off with that attitude, I would. If I had a parent treat me like that, I would go no contact. He didn't really notice that you pulled away for more than 10 years. When he finally did notice, instead of apologizing for the pain a child had, he doubled down and insulted you. Your dad can pound sand. I would consider myself an orphan. I would even take it so far as to move so he couldn't find me again. So sorry your dad is such an idiot. I honestly expected the story to end with the dad breaking down in tears and regrets and lots of apologies, but instead, he doubled down and said more awful things. Of course, OP could never be the idiot. That would break my heart again, and I would never want to see his face again. I bet he's the type who'll get in touch again when or if OP has a child. You can't deny me from my grandchildren. Yep, OP can. Tell him to go to his step-grandchildren. Even after everything OP said, she hears, "Well, your stepsister is more important and it's your fault that I feel bad right now." He was probably hoping that she'd say, "I'm so very sorry I've lost contact with you. I'm totally in the wrong and made a huge mistake." He wanted his question to make her feel guilty and come crawling back to him. The opposite happened, which he should have expected had he not been so self-centered. Even his best friend told him a decade ago that his attitude wasn't okay, and he still shocked Pikachu that it affected her. I'm sorry, I disagree. I would suggest not cutting him off forever. It might hurt you even more. Therapy can help you find the right words and tools. Regardless of that, you are loved and you are special. Your dad loves you and he didn't know what you needed, and he was also suffering a loss, which doesn't justify him, and you are still more than justified. I, 28 male, was raised in a rural area where kids grow up fast. When I was 5, I walked alone to the bus stop by the side of the road. By 9, I was already driving in the property. I now have a pre-tween son with my ex-girlfriend, 26, and we have shared custody. Granted, we now live in the city, and I know times are different, but I don't see anything wrong with letting him walk 2 blocks to get some candy at 7-Eleven or something. His mother disagrees with this, but in my mind, I'm free to make my parenting choices just as she is. I just asked my son not to mention anything so as not to start trouble. Important to say, I didn't ask him to lie to his mother, just to keep his short walks between us. Well, one of my ex's friends, who also lives in the neighbourhood, saw my son walking alone by the park. My ex called me to say I was putting our kid in danger and called me an idiot for making him keep this from her, because of course I told her it wasn't the first time, as a way to show he's responsible and has proved to be trustworthy with the small freedoms I give him. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. Just because it was safe when you were a child doesn't mean it's still safe. A rural area and an urban area are often very different in their levels of safety. Across the street, 2 doors down, maybe. But 2 blocks at his age, that's a no from me. And don't tell your mother is still lying. Lying by omission is still lying, so you're doubly idiot. You did ask your son to lie. It might not have been those exact words, but you told him to keep it a secret between you and him. And that's not cool, man. Why is your kid walking alone in the park? Why don't you want to spend time with him at the park? I mean, he's 7, not a tween or teenager. I get what you're saying, but have you walked with him to shops previously and had a very serious conversation about what potential dangers he has to be prepared for? When and where you grew up is completely different to now. That poor boy can be snatched quicker than a kid taking candy on Halloween. You're an adult. Stop being lazy and walk your son to the store. In actuality, the reason we're more diligent with watching our kids these days is because of the old days when people didn't watch their kids, and they were disappearing off the streets in the front yard. Remember the kids with their picture on the milk carton? That was real. We were not safe when we were young, and things are the same. We just protect our kids better than we used to. Except OP, of course. I, 56 male, have 4 kids with my wife, 54 female. We have 3 daughters, Chloe, 32, Wendela, 30, and Emily, 24. We also have 1 son, Lucas, 26. My wife and I have, since the birth of each one of our kids, put in monthly payments in a college fund for them. The amount in the funds was enough to cover all 4 kids' college education. Our kids all choose different paths in life, whether it was their degree, place of education, or what type of school, they all went with something different. When our oldest, Chloe, graduated high school, she talked to us about how she was unsure what she wanted to do with her life and had been thinking about taking a gap year. We spoke with her and told her it was her choice, that if that was what she wanted, she should do it and not rush into education. She did take 2 years. During these years she worked and, in an agreement with me and my wife, paid us $250 in rent each month to continue living with us. She still ate our food, we cooked for her and still bought her necessities. The $250 was put in a savings account that we gave her access to when she and her now husband were beginning to talk about buying a house. Even though the situation was different with each kid, they all knew about this and the plan for how the money would be used. Wendela lived with us for 3 years after college, and Emily lived with us during college. They both took part in this. The issue is with my son. He, like his older sister, wanted to take a gap year. We encouraged him to do so. He asked if he could stay with us. We told him yes, but told him about the rent situation. He was unhappy with this, saying he was our son and we should want him to live with us for as long as he needed to. We explained what the money would be used for. He said he didn't care. He was very angry with us for a long time and stayed with his friend. This all happened around 8 years ago. We have a good relationship now with him and his wife, who are expecting our first grandchild. He recently brought up how all his sisters got money to buy a house and showed me pics of a house that he and his wife had been looking at. I said it looked nice, to which he responded by asking when I could give him the money. I told him that he made the choice when he was 18 and that he wouldn't receive any money. He said that was unfair and that he was young and dumb and shouldn't be punished for it. I told him that I didn't have that kind of money to give him. He left the house after arguing a bit more. My wife and his sisters are all on my side. However, his wife and my mom have said that I'm in the wrong and I should want my grandbaby to have a place to live and should not punish him for mistakes he made as a young boy. Am I the idiot for not giving him the money? Edit, when each kid got access to the rent money, it was in a savings account. However, before it was put in a fund, so the money grew. My son did go to college. I was at his graduation and he uses his degree today. What the four of them chose to do with their college fund was up to them, but from my understanding they all used it for college. If they did not, then they did not. I have never asked any of them for proof of what the money was used for, so I can't say with 100% certainty that it did go towards their education. Not the idiot at all. From what I understand, you never gave the other kids money. You just kinda held onto their own money and gave it back to them. LOL. Dude should have taken your offer. If you're looking to adopt any more adults, I can 100% do that rental agreement with you. LOL. I mean, they paid $250 a month in rent, but OP paid them about the same for living there. So basically, they got to live at home for free but just put $250 in the bank. Regardless, the deal was sweet for the kids taking gap years. Lucas was allowed to live at home as long as he saved for the future, even if it was called rent. Lucas may have been young and dumb then, but he's older and still dumb today with his thought process. I'm gonna say you are the idiot. Money aside, you let your 3 daughters live with you for free and kicked your son out at 18. You say you charged them rent, but you didn't actually. You made them take part in a forced savings scheme. The equitable thing would have been to let your son stay for free but not give him money because he hadn't saved it. Instead, he had a much rougher start to his life as an adult. And while I don't think you owe him money now, the fact you don't recognise you gave your daughters a much bigger head start in life is what makes you the idiot, in my opinion. We're both in our mid-20s. My partner is studying further while working and had an exam that started at 8 AM. Last night, they had asked me to wake them up at 6 AM and I promptly set my alarm for 6 AM. It's usually set to 6:15 as that's when I wake up for work. At 5 AM, our cat scratched at the bedroom door to be let out, so we both woke for a few seconds. By the time I woke up and got back to bed, they'd already fallen back asleep. At 6 AM this morning, the alarm went off as normal and I shook them awake. Their eyes opened and they shifted in bed. I thought they were awake and as such I went back to sleep for a few minutes. At around 6:25 I woke up naturally and checked my phone to see the time. Realizing they were late, I exclaimed, "Wake up, it's 6:30. I rounded up. They promptly woke up and started getting ready, as I did, to make coffee and breakfast for them. When they were done getting ready, we had an argument where they were super angry at the fact I didn't wake them up on time. I responded in anger, stating that I woke them up at 6 but they fell asleep. Their response was that wasn't waking someone up and that they weren't up and neither was I. Furthermore, their argument is also that they don't remember being woken up at 6, only at 5 when there was a noise. They'd also angrily mentioned that if they missed the exam, who will take another day off work to write the exam, as they already took weeks off work for studying. I can understand their anger that they entrusted me to wake them up at 6 AM, and as such, being woken up nearly half an hour later would be infuriating, but I believe they have no grounds to be angry, as they didn't wake up when they needed to. Furthermore, they didn't take any responsibility to set their own alarms. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. As a grown damn adult, your partner needs to be responsible for waking themselves up. From now on, when they ask, just say no. If they get mad at you, say, "Clearly I'm not good at waking you up, so you should do it yourself." Understandably, they were stressed about their exam, but that stress doesn't justify blaming you for their own oversight. Moving forward, it might be helpful to discuss setting multiple alarms or finding a more reliable method to wake up for important events. This can help prevent similar situations in the future and ensure that both of you are on the same page regarding morning routines and responsibilities. Moving forward, OP should just tell their partner to take some responsibility and let them deal with it by themselves. I sure as heck wouldn't be helping them anymore after getting treated that way. Like heck no. Go point your finger somewhere else. You're not your partner's mum and they're the ones who went back to sleep. Your partner needs to take responsibility for getting themselves out of bed. I, nearly adult female, let's call me Rarity, which is not a super common name like my real one, have a half-brother Curtis, 30. He's married to Kendall, 30 female. Kendall isn't related to me but shares my last name. My brother changed his name to her last name when they wed. This wasn't weird as his last name was the one he'd been teased for when he was younger, and he and I are close, so it was still a family name that way too. Kendall is now in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy with a baby girl. They announced that they wanted to name the baby Rarity. I wasn't thrilled about it and it sounded like it could be confusing. I asked about it and if they plan on calling the baby something else, like a nickname or middle name. They said they were giving it the same middle name as me, and that it would likely be obvious who's being talked about, and if not, they could add the word baby in front of it. I think this is super weird and I don't like it. My parents think it's sweet. I tried to express my dislike for it, but everyone was just upset with me for being unsupportive. Edit, I did ask why and they said it's a pretty name, and my brother says he hopes the baby will be just like me. I also directly asked if the name was for me or something and they said no. Given a human the prefix baby to avoid confusion is a great long-term solution. Baby Rarity will love that when she's 13. Curtis and Kendall sound like very smart people. Not the idiot. Sorry, your half-brother and sister-in-law seem a little dense. She'll love it even more when she's 70. OP is dead, and everyone still calls her Baby Rarity like it's an actual name, based on someone I know. It sounds like they're planning a long con to steal your identity and affix it to their baby. Seriously, did one of the grandparents leave money in a trust for Rarity's middle last name? I almost got named after my dad, who was named after his dad. My grandma put a stop to that crap real fast because I sure as heck don't need mail coming for one more damn fake nameson, because no one puts the junior or senior on, and they sure as heck won't put the third. And that was before crap was Googleable. OP, tell your brother that you'll call the baby Repeat or CC for carbon copy, then do it. Good luck.